Do a quick test of the audio.
Testing, yeah. Yeah, good to go.
Okay, good. Welcome everyone to the second part of the 169th Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. And in this part, we'll continue with the teaching from Mr. Keshe. And I think he might be ready now with video perhaps from the Keshe Foundation. Let's have a look there and see. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to continue?
Yes, you got to switch me on.
All right, thank you.
Hello, yes. As usual, welcome back to the second part of the 168 teaching.
69.
Can we have the whiteboard, please? Giuseppe, the whiteboard. As you were with us before, or you joined in the second part, can we have a clean whiteboard, please? In the teaching of this part, which is part of the knowledge seekers and not the what you call the cancer teaching. We explain something very important for all of us as part of the announcements. If Rick, can you share the new page we saw on the front, please, regarding the volunteers we need for what jobs we need. You will see a start of the beginning of a lot of notices from the Keshe Foundation in the people we need for the Keshe Foundation, volunteers or people who will employ in the factories. If you see, this is the new, what we call the teaching management of the Keshe Foundation group, which is set up and headed by Jim from Australia, is we start putting out the people we need to be able to enhance their teachings. This is the KFSSI request, which is the teaching arm of the Keshe Foundation. We need these kind of people to be able to illustrate a lot of work. and be able to increase the spread of the knowledge across the internet. It says, we welcome professionals to volunteer and join us. We need graphic designers, 2 and 3D animation artists, hand-on teachers and trainers in plasma science and technology, advertising and internet marketing, and transcribers, subtitlers, and translators. 1 or 2 hours a week. Just if we can help, that we can expand the knowledge to be visually presented, because there's a lot of understanding is needed, and visually we know that it helps quite a lot. And this allows us to spread the knowledge in a deeper way and in a much faster way. As you will see, the Keshe Foundation website, it will come up in a very short time. They're working on it. We see in the Keshe Foundation Austria has come online this week. We see there is a lot of work needs to be done with the Plasma Wiki, and that it needs a lot of information to put into it. There is a need for those who can help to start bringing the technology of the Keshe Foundation in line with its teaching. So we need a lot of people to be able to go to the next steps. We just need, as the new team which is put together, spread the knowledge and at the same time reorganize the teachings. And these are the people we need. The foundation needs to carry on with its work. We have already announced the Keshe Foundation manufacturing has been, we took over the whole of the Keshe Foundation manufacturing, which we had a partner up to now. As of yesterday, it's become total assets of the Keshe Foundation in totality, 100% owned by the Keshe Foundation. And the factory is moving from north of Italy within the next few days to the south of Italy. And in the south, we are advertising a number of jobs. If you are Italian, you have a good understanding and you're unemployed, or you want to work with the foundation, the factory in the south needs some number of people who can help with the production. We need new ideas, new concepts for products from Italy. And so you can join us. You can write to Keshe Foundation Italy, or send your request to Giovanni, and you'll be employed as a full-time job. We reckon at least we need 5 to 10 people to start the factory up next week or 2. Then Giovanni has to decide. And we are looking for people to bring new concepts in understanding of the totality. The same goes with the opening of the Keshe Foundation in Ghana, the manufacturing. As we are expanding, we are looking for Ghanaian scientists or people highly educated who want to join us in the program. Going back to the other parts of the teaching, which we go back to last week. Can I have a white screen, please? The totality of the work, if you remember last week, we touched on a very important topic where we saw the pictures of the gases of CO2 and zinc oxide. Is Dr. Klaus in the background by any chance? Dr. Klaus, can you hear me if you're there? Please. We asked the same scientist to do some more investigation. What the pictures we saw last week. Rick, can you put the pictures of the CO2 and copper oxide, please?
That was Klaus, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, Dr. Klaus, can you send the picture of the last sodium to Rick, please? The last pictures you didn't transfer them to me. I don't have it here. If you
Okay.
can, or if you can send it to Rick, that Rick can bring the 3 pictures together on the screen, please.
Okay. Give me
Thank you
just
very
2
much.
seconds.
The one with the sodium.
Yes, and over to me.
Thank you very much. So what we saw last week is, as we explained, as the amino acid in line with the division of the copper, where the copper itself, due to its characteristics, creates the split in the body of the man because of the muscle tissue, the left and the right, as we saw in the structure of the material. What you will see today, when it comes on the screen, is an amazing structure. Let it come up, and then I'll explain, and then you understand a lot about the physicality of the man on its boundary of its structure. The whole process, if you remember, or you can go back to it, or come on, we'll see, is the matter state of the copper in conjunction with the gaseous part of the planet, in interaction with the gaseous part of the brain of the man, or amino acid, creates and leads to the division of the cell or the structure. Because you have the gravitational magnetic field of the copper, and in the process of the 2 oxygens, you will see the totality of the shape. This is very interesting when you see the figures. When you see the picture, you see an amazing structure. We see the curvature on the totality. And what we have to take further, when you look at the shape of the brain of the man, ends up with the same totality. Where the 2 parts of the brain, and if I can draw it, I can explain it very clearly, is that the 2 connect through the operation of the energy transfer. And now we understand how has come that the body of the man, in the presence of the copper, as matter state connection of the physicality of the muscle tissue, has created itself into forcing by energy field transfer, because of its more mass in changing and creating a connection between the planet and itself, which has led to the division of the body of the man. But what has come with here, we saw the magnesium salt used last time. What we're going to see now, Rick, have you received it?
I don't think so. Is it coming in through Zoom or some other means? I'm wondering.
Dr. Klaus?
Don't see it yet.
What you will see, if you can share it with Stanley and send it to Rick, because he's got all the 3 pictures together. Rick, can you pull up the pictures from last week already, if you can bring them on?
I'm not sure where I got them from. I'll have a look. I'll see what I can.
Yeah, the salt, the ones we saw, the pictures with the copper oxide and amino acid.
Yeah, where'd they come? Were they from Klaus? Did they come directly from Klaus? I can't remember exactly.
No,
they came from you.
Okay.
Okay.
The other one is coming from the class. What is interesting, what you will see, is that the amino acid which is connected with the physicality, has magnesium salt in it, shows itself the way we saw last week. But now that the same test has been done on a sodium salt, the same structure amino acid, but the sodium structure of it shows a fantastic structure, and that explains the totality of why our skin is the way it is, why it's hard. Because when you look at the structure of the amino acid with sodium, you see a hard cross like the skin of the man. Do you want to share it? Are you there, Rick? Have you got it?
Yeah, I had it shared, but I unshared it because you were just drawing again there.
Okay,
They're sort of the same
no
thing.
problem.
So let me share it here now.
Please. And put them together, just two of them, with a copper oxide. And okay, that's the amino acid. If you can push to one side, put this in one upper level.
And you mean the
The copper ones, the copper oxide, which was in the middle, if you remember.
Okay, let me just get it set up here on the desktop. Do you mean, okay, so we've got
No, this is a CO2. Okay, you can put,
yeah,
then we
right.
have a CuO2.
Yes, let me see. There it is.
Okay, if you bring this down and turn it 190 degrees to the left,
Okay.
and then bring the other, yeah, okay, you can close that. Turn this 190 degrees to the left, please. Yeah. What is interesting now, have you received the pictures from Dr. Klaus yet?
On its way, Rick. It comes from Klaus Dieter. Just
No, I've got the full picture from last time from Flint though,
No,
and maybe I
this
could
is a
share
new
that.
one. This
No,
is a
it's
new
in-
one. If you can send it to, if you send it to me, Dr. Klaus, I can send it to Rick. It's no problem. Send it to
You
me
should be
by
able to
Zoom.
send
Or
it to
send
me
it
through
to Rick by
Zoom.
Zoom. He can pick it up.
Okay.
What is interesting is this, that how the copper, due to its structure, forces the division of the structure of the cell, which is connected to the muscle tissue, using magnesium. If you remember in the teaching earlier on today, I cannot get into this. Can you click it with the box, if you can open it? And give me this one, please. Okay, thank you. So what we see in the teaching of this morning, earlier on, we explained about how magnesium is connected to the muscle tissue, neurosystem. And then you understand how using a magnesium salt here, we see the connection and the split. But what is interesting, as you will see in a minute, how the calcium salt shows itself. Sorry, the sodium salt will show itself in respect to the same amino acid. And then what you see, go back to the structure of the three layers of the skin of the man, why it's so hard, and how the salt content between the layers decide how your skin looks. You look at this, this is the picture of the same amino acid, but this time instead of magnesium salt is in the sodium salt. You see the clustering, you see the hardening of the shell. This is, now if you see this here, it's the same in another figure of it. Then we understand how amino acid in a structure shows itself and creates the skin of the man. So when you're dealing with skin problems, you need amino acid, which is made in the sodium chloride. Then you get a better response. You have a more interactive, because it's of the same environment, amino acid. When you come to the muscle tissue and the division, you use magnesium salt when you're making your copper oxide. These are the processes which we have to learn. When you come to create the CO2, which you want to use for, let's say, the connection with the emotional part, you use the magnesium in connection with the copper. Use magnesium salt, not the NaCl salt, the sodium chloride. These are the, as we said, we go into more depth of understanding. This is important because when you become man of space, the hardness of this skin, decision of what is going to be, is the barrier between the structure of the man, the soul of the man, and the environment you are in. So one of the key points is, now that we enter the space technology as part of our physicality, and what we see now scientifically shown, presented, you see the difference between the structure of the amino acid, which is to do with the tissue of the physicality, which is the copper, and then you see with the surrounding environment, which is the skin of the man, with sodium. Here you have the magnesium. Here you have, and you see it, the crusting, the way it has changed. And it's the repeat of second time. You see the same thing. So we know, we understand in deep space, we have to create an energy that, in respect to our environmental condition, strength, and the salt within the structure of the environment, which our soul and emotion interacts on the surface of the earth, it becomes hard. And with these pictures, we even now, as I said before, understand why we have salt layers within the 3 layers of the skin of the man, and why, when some companies, which are like a Belgian company specialized in the salt level content of the 3 layers of the skin of the man, by changing the salt content, they change the skin, the softness of the skin, the solidity and rigidity of the skin, and all sorts of things which is to do with the skin. By just understanding a physical picture like this, that a gas of amino acid, which is the body of you within salt, how harder and softer it becomes. This is very interesting to see why, for example, what we saw with Richard, showing with his skin, the color of the change of the skin, why it worked. Most probably he used a calcium with, he used a protein with an amino acid condition, which that's what is given to him. So he's interacting at the level of the salt, because he created the GANs with the salt of NaCl. Very interesting, if you understand the extension of this knowledge, is what happened if we go to calcium salt. How would a calcium salt of CO2 will show itself. Then would we see the shape and the structure of the bone of the man. Would we see, for example, as it could be a plasma with porosities? Now, if you go back to the understanding of this morning teaching, you understand how the matters in respect to the salt and the protein lead to different structure part of the body of the man. If there was no sodium chloride, or what we call the normal salt we eat, there wouldn't be in the skin hardness that it creates containment. Without magnesium, which is connected to the physicality, as we said, like when you get a cramp, you will not come to have the physical structure of the muscle tissue. And in all this, there is emotional connection to the zinc oxide. This understanding is important because in the future, when we become part of the space of the universe, our cells have to have a space that we feel comfortable in it. It is part of understanding slowly the totality. We have this now. Let's, the scientists, create calcium salt. And we see the picture. We've seen with this the connection of the muscle. We see with this the structure of the skin of the man, it hardens. What would we see with calcium? And then you understand how the life of the man or life of any being on this planet will come to exist and has come to exist. In interaction, if we go further back and look at the condition of maybe here, a salt which interacts with the iron. And then we see how the first life starts, how it gets muscles, how it gets the skin to protect itself, and then in later stages creates bones for its physical structure. Now, step by step, it becomes apparent that there is no creator. Man is created out of the condition of the environment of his existence. And if man understands this and has the control over the emotion, filtering of his soul, then he decides according to what salt in the environment he arrives that he needs to create to manifest itself at a point of destination according to the environment. Don't forget, everything you see here is made of magnetic and gravitational fields interaction and nothing else. There is no solid salt. Even the salt itself is accommodating fields interaction.
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe. Could we have the cable on the microphone adjusted? There's a lot of interference coming through.
Oh my God. Is it better now? Maybe.
I doubt it. I think we need to take up a collection for you for a new microphone, Mr. Keshe, because that one's been a problem for many years now.
Is it better now, sir? It was.
I don't know. It'll change because
Yeah,
it's
it was
just not the right
plan.
design. It's just the wrong design. We need to have a different design that this doesn't happen. It's ruining the beautiful sound that comes from your words and from your mouth, and we need to hear the clarity.
Is it clearer now?
It is good right now. Yes, generally it comes through good. It's just the rubbing is it gets worse and worse. And I don't like to interfere because you're on a roll and we like to hear what you're saying and so on, and not me interfering. So we need to deal with this. We need a new setup that works properly.
No problem. I'm in Ghana next week. He'll be headphone piece with no scratches. This is the backward technology in Italy. Yes, Italians don't like it. Okay. So what we get is that as we understand more, and as we explained this morning in the containers how to make salt and gases, we start seeing how our own emotional strength field can decide the structure of our existence in deep space. But there is a hidden knowledge behind this. The hidden knowledge is why and how we called a matter a salt. And what does it actually mean? Is it the specific filtering strength in gravitational magnetic field that allows us, in respect to the environment we live, manifest ourselves in the dimension of physicality of the environment? Does this mean that if we understand the strength of different salts, or what we call filtering, will allow us to manifest ourselves in a specific shape and form according to the environment? Do we need to learn this, that we control it ourselves through our emotion? Then we decide, I want to have a lighter skin, darker skin, I want to have a very tough skin that not even a bullet goes through it, and then we become Iron Man. Does the knowledge of the man, has the knowledge of the man come to the point that through his emotion, he can control, even on this planet, the manifestation of his physicality? I don't like to be in color blue, I'll be in color green today. We see this, I've explained this before, we see this especially with the people who, what I call beautiful people. In specific conditions, what you call a schizophrenic, according to who is present in the talk or in the conversation, the easiest thing they change is the color of their eyes. Because now I look at it in a different way. Yes. So, according to your change of the color of the eye, you absorb different lights. And absorbing different lights brings different emotions. And therefore, bringing different emotion brings different personality and different characteristics. This is how most of the beautiful people operate in their life. They change, or who is present in the conversation changes the color of the eye according to the presentation. They change the color of the skin. They change the odor they want to smell. They change even the texture of the body they want to present. The beautiful people who carry both characters, in one character or in one soul, they are the soul of a man, and in another one, the soul of a woman. Even you can observe the change of the texture of the skin. Now, it's for the world of science to go back to those people. What you call a schizophrenic, what I call beautiful people, are resources of knowledge and information for man, for him to understand how to control his physicality through his emotion, through his soul. Now you see how wrong we've done to these people for such a long time. The one who said the earth was round, they put him on the wood and burned him. Now we understand, we know this knowledge. This knowledge is easily known and understood, but never ever been comprehended. Exactly why and how. In flick of a finger, They can change color. Chameleons do. How do chameleons change the color of their skin? They measure, they feel the strength of the environment through their eyes, through the salt of their eyes, and then they match it through their emotion with their skin. If they can do it, why can't we do it? Now we understand more. Now with these pictures, you can even toughen the skin. You can soften the skin. You can change the dimension of the physicality of the muscle. It'll be interesting if the scientists give us more pictures of the more amino acid that we can more understand it. So if we see the change to interact with the tissue, needed a magnesium strength. Change to change the color of the skin and the harness, need the sodium. And then let's look at the calcium and the others. Then if you understand this strength, then we understand the reality of the existence. Then in deep space, we can understand how to change ourselves. All we need to do is exactly what we've done for years. We get upset, we create the emotion to us, it's upsetness, and we cry, or we shiver, or we laugh. And this is what the reality is. We decide, according to our environment, what we see, or what we would like to be seen as, we manifest ourselves. We see a lot of, especially women, with two color eyes. One green, one blue, one black, one brown. And then you will understand, when you speak to, they have the dual characteristics, because depends in which eye what light is absorbed and what that light gives as an emotion. If you look into the eye of a person, the one which is with a solid color, totally black, totally brown, you see one characteristics. Those with the multiple lights, they have usually a good indication of their character, because they absorb a spectrum of light. They see different dimensions that with a single light we don't see. And then they physically change accordingly in their speech, in their thoughts, in their behavior, and one will not know the other. Because it was not me when I was there. Because they have learned how to change by literally changing the sodium content. Because if magnesium, let's say, has a power of 10 megagraph, this one has 80. All they need to do is to change. Nothing else. We call it names. Names don't exist in the world of creation. It's the field strength. There are people who can even change the color of their eyes according to how they want to be perceived, according to the soul inside them. So this is not a strange knowledge. It's a knowledge we already have. It's already part of human race, have gone through this process. Have you seen so many children born with blue eyes, and after the first, second year, they change to brown? They change the characteristics as well. Why? Does the light of blue create the soul of innocence? Because when you're innocent, you have no mixture. Does the change of color has anything to do with the maturity and understanding of the pain of the creation of man on this planet? This is the process. Now that we enter space technology, we have to understand. There is no choice, because sooner or later, we have to do it ourselves. You become man of space, you should be able to change your emotion and understand the strength of the emotion that gives you a condition of survival in any space dimensions in the universe. Do we need field strength of 100 on this planet? But in another planet, according to the environment, we need a strength of 10 to be able to survive. And does that strength of 10 with a field strength of whatever material or field dictates a new structural presentation of the man. So you come back to Earth, forces gravitational magnetic field of copper and zinc, because the zinc now is connected to your emotion, and then you get 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 kidneys, 1 liver, and everything else. The storage, cleaning system, as we explained before. Yes, our mascot has arrived. Good morning, sir. The beauty of us as human race is that now, with the knowledge we are gathering, we can become the chameleons of space, as I've said before. Now we understand more and more. You want to change the length of the bone of an arm to have a 1 meter arm and the rest has to be there. Now you understand what salts decide the feature of the calcium. Then you produce that kind of salt in that strength, in that position of the arm. You have a damaged muscle tissue. Now you understand it. If you use the magnesium GaNs of CO2 with copper oxide, most probably in less than a couple of hours, any muscle tissue damage is repaired. Giovanni is writing very, very fast. Don't forget he's become a doctor now. He's a medically certified as an alternative doctor. He has to know what he's doing with his patients. So what it is, very simple. You've seen the amino acid of the magnesium, which is connected to the muscle tissue. And then next time you have a muscle tissue that in a given emotional condition, it contracts or expands. Now you need to understand magnesium connection of the salt with zinc. So what happens if we create a GaNs of zinc in magnesium salt? Slowly you see the picture, how emotion with physicality changes. The strangest thing is, when you do this, and especially when you go to the point of the change due to the emotion of physicality, most of the time, you can go back to it immediately. The way we're born through the birth channels we spoke, we have to go from liquid to a solid to the air condition. Then you see how very quickly we can change emotion, we can change color according to which salt percentage exists. Because for 2 brothers which are twin, born from the same mother, with different colors, with different shapes, they've gone through the same process. It's a slightly different salt content in different structures. Now we start understanding more how life is dictated by the field strength. Don't forget, there is one little factor which most of you forget. And this factor is this. I have to change here. This protein if you can see the color, and this, and all that receive their energy through the soul of the man. These are nothing but just filters. So when you can change something with a slight difference in the salt content, you call it, we call it magnetic gravitational positioning strength, you become the filter of the soul of the man. Then you decide what the man is going to. When we look in the structure of the brain of the man, we don't see muscle tissues, separate tissues. We see different textures, different filtering, different strength and thickness, and in a way, composition, contraction, and expansion of the tissues. And this one piece changes to this in the body of the man, in the different layers of the brain, dictates the connection between the physicality and the emotion and the soul of the man. Then each part of the brain holds on to one part of the information, and one does not remember the other. Because into one strength you increase the salt content, in the other one you reduce the magnesium content, and if you understand the whole process, you can change by the content and the emotion filtering to go from a tough skin to a softer skin, and change of the texture of the body in one instance. You cannot even remember because you do it automatically. This we see a lot with the, what you call, beautiful people. They change their voice depending on what character. They change their posture depending which character speaks. And they always take the same posture and the same voice for each character because it's the light they absorb, and they can change the content. In a space, this is what's going to happen to man. But we have to become aware of the strength of the filtering which we want to understand. As I said before, after Christmas, we start teaching the truth and how you are. This is your physicality on this planet, dependent on its manifestation. The soul of the man will always be the same, will never change. What we filter dictates what we see, how we manifest ourselves according to the environment which is existing. In the background, you see the environment of the earth. And that, if you look, if I clean up here, I have to go here. If I tap here, it doesn't give it to me. Well, I hope it does. Pardon? You can do it? Okay. Can you clean up this for me, please? No, your rubber is not working. Oh yeah, it is working. It is working. Go back. If you look, yeah. If you look in the background, what you see, this is the Earth atmospheric condition. You have entered Earth, you have the soul, you have the salts of magnesium, sodium, and the availability of the copper or zinc, and then what have you created? Can you change this from there for me, please? What you have created? Nope. You have got me on the arrow. Okay, go on this one. Yeah, go on there. Go up. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. What you have created is the man. These elements in interaction with the gaseous part leads to the existence of this creature on this planet. If I change the background atmosphere, you enter into planet Zeus, you most probably might look like this. A beautiful butterfly. So we see how we have to control, how we have the control to do so. I've seen these changes for many years in the personality and the presentation of people. When you study the life of the beautiful people, then this, for you, it's a very clear, very full understanding, but now it can be put in the picture, in material state, the matter state, that it can be understood. The soul of the man does not change. The soul stays the same, even though you might put two souls in one body. This soul has the strength for this, and this soul has the strength of different. This interacts at 110, and this interacts at 90. So it's different strength. With this 100 gives you a different manifestation of the skin, the intelligence, the interest, because everything you consider as a body of the man has a field strength, and it's the interaction, the balance. If you give it 100 minus 20, you get 80. You give it 110 minus 20, you get 90. Interest changes, condition changes. So, as I said, and we go in more understanding, these are the physical data. We asked the scientists who gave us this, can we have a test with the calcium salt next week? It's very hard for him. He does his best to get it done before Thursday. Now he's got a week. What about if we interact with iron? What is the shape of iron in the structure? Would, and most probably what iron do, will emphasize more and more in division of the cell and division of the physicality. Now we understand where we come from, why the human race or animals on this planet all have similar system cooperation. Because you need to eat, you need to absorb some energy. Now you did, you have to filter it. What you have filtered and spent so much energy on, you don't want to lose all of it. You decide what I want to lose, I call it a kidney. The rest I keep. Then you do the same thing with your liver. Whether I have a storage, how much of it do I want to keep? And that's the maximum. After 10 mil, I'm not keeping, I'm rejecting. So you can eat 20 bananas or one banana, doesn't matter. Because I need the one banana, the rest is rejected. Then you understand how systematically the condition of the magnetic gravitational field strength of this planet enforces the condition and the shape of life. 2 legs, 2 kidneys, because the 2 kidneys came from the division of the 2 cells of the 2 half of the body. Each part has to do his job. You have a total storage, and then you have the physicality of each one needs its own living. Then it comes the operation of the lung, which each side divides to the other. But even that system has been fine-tuned that I take one step, you take another one. Left helps if the right takes a step. And then you understand how life has become the way it is. And how life on this planet is a coincidence of many, many coincidences, billions of years down the line, which has created a condition for life, the way we call it, the human life, at this moment of time, in this position, in the space of the universe. If we can replicate the same thing, the same material, the same air condition, the same moisture and the salt content of the planet, we can say there is another planet which a life on this, like this planet exists. And that is impossibility. We might get something near to it, but we'll never get exactly as it is. Human life is unique like any other life in the universe. Every one life is unique, and respecting the life of the entity in the universe is the responsibility of man of the universe. So now you decide what you want to filter, what is your salt content. You have become so good that you can change the salt content from the skin of a man to the skin of a woman within milliseconds. From a brown to yellow, not to be detected, and become the chameleon on the tree and nobody can see you. Then you can do with individuals. Then you can do with a school of thoughts. Then you can do with emotion. Would we feel and have the same emotional feeling on planet Zeus, where tear has no meaning? What's the use of getting upset and crying when on that space no tears can be produced? So now, those of you who have come close to understanding the technology and in transparency of the soul have become more matured, try to create filters and see if you can change the color of your skin without putting gans of CO2 on it. Try to see if you can extend your arm or reduce a finger according to what is needed. But can you do it instantaneously? You can put your finger out 1 meter and bring it back to be exactly 5 centimeters a second later. Or do we create the fields of it that gives the physical imagination of the existence of the finger at any point? Questions are many, but the answer comes into one package. The salt on this planet, what we call salt, or the acidity, what we call the strength of the level of the energy release, dictates the performance of the man. So you call it CH3, you call it sugar, anything else, then it dictates how active these things become in respect to each other and how flexible these two motions they become. That's all it is. When you consume sugar, hydrogen as part, it dictates the gap distance between the entities. How much more gap, how much more energy is available. You call it sugar, I call it the amount of the release of the energy in the plasmatic form, and then you see the rest. So let's see, when we bring and we see new graduates from the School of Thought of Understanding from the Spaceship Institute, how many of them by the end of the 3 months training can extend, create, and wish and deliver. Very much they become like the actresses in Hollywood or Bollywood. They can cry in 1 second or they can laugh. So we see how many of them will make fingers and the spaceships.
Mr. Keshe had a comment. Did Moses part the plasma waters?
Do you want me to tell you what he did? He never separated any water or any rivers or any oceans. I've shown that in the presentation or manifestation of the shooting stars in the sky. is understanding what the followers needed to feel that they are safe and they could cross and be above something else that others could not do. It was a claim, or it was a game of understanding of the presence of the emotion of the man and the feeling in the physicality of the dimension. What it means, he actually did nothing. He just gave the emotional feeling of survival. We are saved. Christ did the same. Christ didn't resurrect the dead. He gave energy to the soul, and the soul manifested itself as a resurrection of the body, dead body. Now that you know the magic, is not no more magic. Now you understand the process. Many of you can create any illusion, but now with the strength of the soul, not with gimmicks and back pocket cards. But there is another very big question. Was there any Moses at all? I'm getting a very deep look. This is what I explained very recently about the presence and existence of Christianity on the name of the Catholicism, and how Orthodox Christianity and the rest all read the same. But if you look and understand the history of the man, the history of Christianity, the way it's in the books and understood today, is far from any reality that now we have a pink sky with a red rain. You've got to understand how we've been put into that position. If you give me the whiteboard, we put a closure on a lot of thoughts about Christianity in the West. Give me a whiteboard, please. Clean it. Two and a half, 3,000 years ago, there was state of Italy. You had the Greeks and you had the Persians. And the Italians took all over due to the position they had. The Persians and the Romans, out of the fear of the Greeks, they became very close. Iranian flags carries Italian flags exactly 90 degrees upside down. Because the two nations became so close, the only way they could say who's who, they spoke each other's language and they took each other's religion at the highest level. So what happened? The Roman leaders who came in touch with the beauty of the religion, what he called Mithraism or Zoroastrianism in the later stage, they became Mithraism and Zoroastrianism. The public in Italy wanted to be like them, but that was a religion or path of belief only for the rich, the elite, the ones who came in touch with the faith of Mithra, or what called Zoroastrian. Because in Roman time, everybody still believed in the statues and everything else. The Persian culture, Zoroastrians, which covered the India and the whole of that side of Middle East, of far west east of Asia, They believed in something which has no statue. God, we call it. Zoroastrians believe in Ahura Mazda. And to celebrate his life, they keep a fire. That is the source, essence of what it comes. We call it the soul. In Torah, later on, it became the light and the rest of it. Then, at that time, came, don't forget, that Romans were right across the Middle East. They were the rulers. They found a man called Christ who brought a belief in. But it took them 300 years and a lot of push and shoving to force. Now we found a man who says to believe in God because Christ followed the Moses. There were no statues to follow. So now the rulers of Italy had to find a way they could keep their belief in their God because they found it first from the Iranians, but it fits the popular belief as well. Understanding that the Romans had connection both between the Persians and the Middle East. They created, in the name of Christ, a new religion called Christianity, which in fact, in total essence, in every shape or form, is Mithraism. In Iran, if you were with me a few months ago, we celebrated the Nowruz, 21st of March, beginning of a spring, 12 days of Nowruz. You have 12 days of Christmas. We had it 4,000 or 5,000 years. You just got to it. You look, Mithra was born out of Virgin Mother. So is Christ. You find the 3 disciples. Read about Mithra. Then you find out that because the Romans had a full influence, they changed everything here, that all the Christianities come to look and sound exactly the same. Because they rewrote the history of the book in the version of the Christianity, according to the Mithraism. Now you understand everything. Even Mithra was born out of the Virgin Mother. So did the Christ. Now, what is the value in the true essence of the rules in Christianity? We all go back, not wanting to believe in the statues, but to believe in something that is non-tangible. Then you go back into every structure of life. You will see that we have been led to believe, because they destroyed everything before it, that what is been set to be what it seems to be. So now you tell me, what is the truth? Was ever Christ in the way it's been said? But do we all come from the spring of the same? Because another man in this corner did the same. A merchant traveling, finding people here called Christians and Jews, don't have any temples, don't have any statues to worship, and in the way coming back in Saudi Arabia, demolished all the temples with a statue. He brought the same thing in another name called Islam. The strive of the man has been in all the past centuries to bring himself to say he is made of something which is higher than himself. Worship the fire, worship the statues, now non-dimensional entity, we call it God. And with what we are teaching, you understand, it comes from the essence of the creation of the man himself. I am the beginning, I am the end. So I would like to know, what would Vatican say about the truth which is on the table? Or have we all become part of the same religion in different names, causing murders, mayhem, and now we see Vatican sets up huge mess, huge mess in the Far East. In what? In believing yourself that you are the only one, or you are the creator. Now you see why Vatican is spending billions destroying everything on the internet about Mithraism. Because there is no Christianity in essence, but the soul of Christ and nothing else, because the rest is written on the Zoroastrian books. It's the adoption to fit the rich or those in power. Mithraism goes back to the time of Moses and beyond. Don't know, because there is a school of thoughts that people in time, when they left East Africa to spread across the continents, they came and they come to the point that they had to believe in themselves. And in believing in themselves, they saw a lot of strength in themselves. And that transferred itself to the Creator. And then those who couldn't adopt, they had something, so they believed in what they believed. And they called them the priest. This is the true history of Christianity. And I'll challenge anybody who can show me any other way. I've been there, I've seen it. Now you explain. You show any documents which opposes anything which is on the board. There is no reality in the structure of Christianity the way we have it, unless in one thing, the existence of the man whose soul was given for the freedom of his own physicality. That's the truth about the life of Christ. He managed to free himself from the dimension of physicality on the cross and resurrect himself from its non-dimensional soul back to his physicality and taking place and position in other side of the waters, what you call France of today. That's the only thing which Christ ever achieved. Change of physicality according to the emotion of sensibility. In fact, there is no reason for a place called Vatican to exist. Because it's as good as you walk into a temple in the center of Tehran called Zoroastrian temples, open the book and read. You read Christianity before the name, but that book was written 3,000 years before. Go on the internet, take out the book, read about Mithraism, and then you understand. Everything which is the attribute of Christ in name is been given to Mithra 3,000 years before. Maybe by understanding that the religions are nothing but the fear of man of his own weakness, we can bring human race to peace. Now, as I said when I came to Rome, you Romans and us Persians have been friends for a long time. We messed up a lot of things for a lot of people, and they never knew what we mixed up. This is why, if you go into the writings in Torah, the truth about the life of Christ, the way it was and what he did, is there. In the Christian books, you don't see because it's been cleaned up to fit. But in the old Torahs, which exist, they explain to you exactly who Christ was and how he lived and why he was crucified, why he was put on the cross. Any other question?
Hi, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, Azza.
Mr. Keshe, when you're talking about the emotions and then the control our physicality, change the color of the skin, color of the eyes, and all that. Is it easier to teach children because they're still not put in a box in terms of the emotions? They're not been conditioned yet. So it should be easier to teach them to do that than us, because we were conditioned by our parents, our society, and so and so. Am I right?
Not really. You can teach yourself anytime. Otherwise, we only send children into space. You can do it anytime. It's you who got to master the control of the emotion and the filtering and strength of it in respect to the environment. I've seen.
Okay, Mr. Keshe, when you say controlling the emotion, like for example, when
Have you ever tried to be a man, Azar?
I am a man.
Okay, so have you tried to feel like a woman and see how the skin and texture changes?
Okay. No, I'm talking about, Mr. Keshe, when you talk about emotion, for example, if I get
That
angry.
is emotion. That is emotion, which what you need. Would you like to be attended to and loved and cared and pampered and bought a rose with you and you change the skin of a woman? Or would you like to go wrestling and fight and go get involved in the wrestling in the mud and call yourself a man? So you change your emotion, you change your physicality.
Okay, so how can I change the color of my eyes then?
Very easy. I know many women who can do, and I know some men who can do. And they change according, and they don't remember the other. Don't forget, you're a doctor. Ask your colleagues and go to what they call institute, where they keep those who are expert in controlling people with two souls. The nice people, the beautiful people. You call it Mental Institute for a Schizophrenic. Sit with them, talk with them, explain what you understand about them, and then you see how many features you see in the body of the same person or among the table. The position changes, the voice changes, the behavior changes, the color of the eye changes. And then, if they are close, they don't even remember what the other one does. You don't forget, in the world of what you call a schizophrenic, the second soul trying to find the respect for its existence in the dimension of physicality of the same body, in some cases commits a crime by killing or damaging their own creator, which is the parents. And then when the second soul takes over, which is not the behavior of it, commits suicide, because this is not what he would have done to his mother or father. Because the first one always was respected and valued, the second one was looking for confirmation of existence. Just go on the internet and find the statistic, how many what you call a schizophrenic with the chemicals you put in them as doctors are not actually a schizophrenic. They are amalgamation of one physicality with different souls and a strength. And then you try to suppress one part of the brain which doesn't work, and then you make him drinking and eating all sorts of chemicals approved by FDA, because even the heads of FDA never understood there is no disease called schizophrenic, because they never understood is the presence of the soul, two souls, three souls in the same body. And then you understand how you can change the color of the skin. And because, as I said, when the one body wasn't present, when the other soul did commit the crime against the parents, when the other one comes to take charge, he can't even remember what the other one has done. He just sees the presence of most probably dead body, or the police calling, arresting the body which he carries, and the murdering the mother or the father. It's very easy when you understand. It is very easy. It is very easy to understand how you can change everything. When you understand it, they change the color of their eye, they do everything else, and they don't even remember. And whatever you tell them, it's all lies, because in reality it's correct, because they were not there. They were soul of another who takes possession of the physicality. You're a doctor. Walk into the mental institute and tell them, I want to see the ones you call a schizophrenic. Give me 10 minutes. I'll show them all the characters. Give it to you as doctors. You fill them up and pump them in with all chemicals and you call them sick. Any other question? Or shall we call it a day? Yes?
Could you expand a little bit on the CH3 deuterium that you brought up a week or two ago about the feeding system?
Next week?
No, last week or a week or two ago, you started to bring up the CH3, how deuterium was part of it, and how.
Yes, it's nearly 2 o'clock.
Okay.
And we've been going for nearly 5 hours. That is a different topic on its own. Remind us next week and we try to explain.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. Any other question, which is short and sweet?
I have a quick question, short and sweet.
Hello, Mr.
Pardon?
I have a quick question, please.
Who's that?
It's me, Jalal from Iraq.
Hi, John. How are you? We were talking about you a couple of days ago.
I hope it's good thing.
It was very good.
Thanks. Sir, today you said if you get CO2 with the ratio 1 to 2 and you put it in another pot to make it different residual, is it must be cleaned, or we can leave it with the salt?
Clean. Otherwise, you have other bits in it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think there was someone else, Ram at Mansour, wanted to show something, but I think we'll have to put that off till next week as well.
You got to realize I'm a 60-year-old man, getting very old, and standing on my feet 5 hours is not easy.
Absolutely. Have to give Mr. Keshe a break here.
Usually people at my age start planning retirement and doing as little as possible.
And when the dog starts barking, you know it's time.
That's time. The clock. Thank you very much indeed for today. Just remember that we start putting out, looking for volunteers to support different aspects of the Keshe Foundation. And next week, I'll be in Accra teaching from there. And the week after that, God knows. We've been around the world in the past few weeks and different days doing different things. And in so many ways, as we discussed, there are a lot of Keshe Foundation followers in different countries. Now that we spread the burden of the power of the what we call pressures of handling and managing the Keshe Foundation, it gives us more time to visit you. It gives us more time, but we don't announce where and when. But we'll come across different countries and nations, and we try to participate in being part of the Keshe Foundation to bring it to you. We are looking to be in Poland and Turkey in a short time, and we are planning to visit other countries in the Middle East in a very short time. We don't give you much notice not to create mayhem, but we give you enough notice that we can meet as many Keshe Foundation followers and try to push the forces of peace across different nations. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next week, hopefully with more detailed, more information and more knowledge to share. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. And that's the end of the 169th Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute for Thursday, April 27th, 2017. Okay, and as always, thank you everybody for attending. And anyone with questions or things to show for can be left over for next week. Okay, I'll close the live stream for now. See you next week.